And good afternoon, Arizona. This is Ryan Wilson. I'm the Executive Director of the Arizona State Chapter of NORML. And with us tonight for our December 2020 chapter meeting, we have Mike Robinette from Southern Arizona NORML. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Ryan. Hi, Carly.
And we've got Carly Wolf, which is NORML State Policies Coordinator. And you're over in Washington, D.C., enjoying the cold weather, right?
Yeah, it's nice and cold, I guess east of you guys. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on tonight.
We're excited to have you, Carly.
Absolutely. And we've got Todd Gilchrist, who's our Deputy Director for Arizona NORML, joining us. I think he's out making some cash right now, too. Thanks, Todd.
Hey, how you guys doing?
What's up, Todd?
Hi, Todd.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm just working, but I decided to call in and see what's going on. Hey, Carly.
Hello, Todd.
We've got some great stuff here, guys. We actually passed legalization here in Arizona. We actually did it. That's amazing, right? We went from
You guys did it, yes.
felony,
Class 6 felony to
to full legalization. So you got to give yourself a good old pat on the back for that one.
Yes, round of applause.
As of yesterday, it was officially certified, so it's legit, right?
Indeed.
Official.
That's great. So it's a lot of good stuff there. So Mike, is going to talk a little bit about that, a little later on.
A little later on, we'll build up the anticipation.
What I'd like to do is, actually start off with Carly talking about, what's going on at a federal level with a couple of things, as well as, what happened and what's happening in the other states that passed legalization.
In the other states, yeah. So as a lot of you that are watching probably know, there was 4 states that passed adult use legalization this past election. Also, aside from Arizona, we got South Dakota, New Jersey, Montana, and medical in South Dakota and Mississippi. So we did have, unfortunately, some pushback from the opponents of our mission in some of those states. For example, in Mississippi, where actually their measure was approved with 73% of the vote. It was Measure 65 to legalize medical marijuana. And their state Supreme Court is hearing oral arguments that was filed by one of their local sheriffs that's challenging the case. Similarly, in Montana, they had Initiative 190, which was also for adult use. And then there were opponents that filed a lawsuit, and they're claiming that the initiative language is unconstitutional because it had earmarked a portion of tax revenues from retail sales, and apparently you're not supposed to do that with ballot initiatives. So they were challenging it in court there, and also in South Dakota, where they decided on Constitutional Amendment A, which was their adult use legalization measure. It passed by 54% of the vote. And also a pair of law enforcement officers filed a suit seeking to invalidate that vote based upon the claim that the ballot language violates a single subject rule that they have for ballot initiatives, which was actually an issue that we had similarly in Nebraska, except they actually, the people who filed the suit, the opponents, actually succeeded, and they were able to get the initiative off the ballot before it was even brought to a vote. So unfortunately, there's some pushback in some of these now legal states, so we're kind of just waiting to see now between oral arguments and court's decisions how those kind of turn out. Also in New Jersey was a little bit unique this year because they also approved an adult use ballot measure, but it was legislatively referred by lawmakers. So now it goes back to the legislature to kind of figure out all the details for possession, for use, for retail sales, for business licensing, all that good stuff. So the lawmakers have been, legislation has been introduced. They've been considering it, so that still needs to get finalized. And we're kind of just urging them to do it quickly, so people can get access, because as you guys know, it already takes a long time. It could take a year or more for these programs to actually come to fruition, and for consumers to actually be able to buy products in stores. And there's a lot of work that goes into that, so it's not always an easy and quick process. But as far as the federal level, so we did have some developments recently, mainly dealing with the MORE Act, which is the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act. It's the most comprehensive piece of legislation that addresses ending marijuana prohibition that's ever been introduced in Congress. So that's been exciting for us at NORML to see the progress on that bill starting last year when it was approved by the U.S. House Judiciary Committee with bipartisan support. So that was really great to see. We had Democrats and Republicans both vote yes on the bill. So now the bill is actually up for a vote in front of the full House of Representatives this week. It's been officially announced. So we're hoping that it passes. I think we're optimistic that it will. I think we have the support that it needs to get those votes and send it off to the Senate. Although the fate of this bill in the Senate does not look very good. With Republicans in control and essentially Mitch McConnell getting to decide which bills are up for a vote, it's not looking good for us, because I'm sure, as many are aware, Mitch McConnell is not friendly towards marijuana reform. He likes to champion the issue of hemp, but he won't really go any further than that. So that's what's going on federally. After the elections, when we were working really closely with you guys on ballot initiative stuff, we kind of pivoted back to the MORE Act. And I guess for me, now is the time where I'm kind of preparing for the 2021 legislative session already, which I'm sure you guys are too. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on here in DC.
That's great. So what are you guys seeing for trends out there, with these states, having such a widespread support, other states that are looking at, passing some sort of, something up in the future, right? So overwhelmingly, there's a support. There's been kind of a shift, right? What's that?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like even in the past couple years that I've been with NORML, I've seen a huge shift. Has it been like almost 4 years now? We continue to see a shift in public opinion. The latest national polling data shows, I believe it was 68% support nationally for marijuana legalization, which is the highest we've seen, and it keeps growing every year. So we're really excited to see that happen. I think politicians are also becoming more open to the ideas that might not necessarily have supported it, 2 or 3 years ago. I think that it's super important to get those people that don't support smoking marijuana or consuming it, but support ending the prohibition and stopping the arrests. I think this was a quote from one of our other chapter leaders: whenever we're talking, we're winning. So it's definitely nice to see that support gradually increasing. And I think that definitely after this election, I think Arizona can influence a lot of states on the West. And I think there definitely is influence, from New Jersey, for more states to legalize on the East Coast, especially like I'm looking at for next year, specifically like New York, Connecticut, even like Delaware and Maryland, to definitely consider legalization, but we'll see how many of them actually enact it in a meaningful way. Because as with the Arizona law, something that obviously NORML advocates for is equity in the industry, and I think that not many states have gotten that quite right yet. So I think along with Arizona and Illinois, these few states that are, implementing their legalization laws really have the chance to, set precedent for the rest of the country. And I think all eyes are on you guys in Arizona to see kind of how that plays out. And I think you guys have a really good foundation with this ballot measure, and especially with the expungement aspects of it. I think that's really great that was included, and I think it's really going to be up to local prosecutors how they deal with those kinds of cases and how the expungement processes go. But I'm excited to see how all of it unfolds, what comes next.
It's going to be fun, right?
Yeah.
It's just an absolutely amazing thing to be involved working on this side of things. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to help drive this forward for NORML.
Yeah.
Something that you guys have been working at this for 50 years now.
Yeah. 2020 was the 50th anniversary of NORML. So as far as I know, I believe we're the oldest advocacy organization.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I did read something about that. So what do you see as the biggest challenges moving forward with these other states?
That's a good question. Well, obviously, I think some of the more conservative states definitely struggle with the social equity piece, and I think that's not always at the forefront of people's minds. But I think it's also just, and we see this in Congress too, it's just such a gap between, the politicians and what they're saying versus, the public and what they're saying. So I think that, once I guess state legislatures maybe represent more of the will of the people, that's an issue. And I think that, it's time is ticking, and it's if lawmakers aren't going to act on it, then it's the people like you guys that are going to put these up for a vote in the election. So I think lawmakers are definitely missing out on opportunity when they don't act on this issue, for sure.
So what can the people out there actually do to to try and get their the lawmakers that they have to deal with here to support this? What kind of action can they take?
Yeah, I think it's super important, to contact your lawmakers personally, and it definitely makes an impact when it's, their constituents talking to them, not, like NORML's lobbyists that's talking to them. I think it's definitely meaningful to hear directly from their constituents, and, every call and every email is goes on record. So I think it's super important just to make those contacts, make them know your name. So you can build those relationships and really have an influence. I mean, I think NORML provides some really good resources for talking to your lawmakers too. We have our fact sheets, which are super popular and super helpful. And yeah, I think the NORML website is just a really good resource if you're, interested in talking to your lawmakers about this. Because again, I think it really makes a difference coming straight from their constituents. Because I mean, they were elected by them, and hopefully have an obligation to do what they want. So
it's just normal.org, NORML.org, and there's a ton of resources up there on the site.
yeah.
You guys got a lot of great stuff there. So what does that process kind of look like, for the people out there that aren't familiar with this side of things here? What do they need to do to actually reach out and contact their legislators, their lawmakers here?
Yeah, so we actually make it really easy for you to contact your lawmakers on NORML.org. We have our Take Action Center. You can see there's a little map, you can click on your state and you can see the pending legislation that's there, and what's being addressed. And there's a link that says email your lawmakers, where you can just enter in your name and your address. It'll match you with your lawmakers, and there'll be a pre-written letter. You can add stuff, you can edit it if you want to, or you can just send it as is, and it'll send the letter directly to your lawmakers, which is a really easy way to get involved. If you were just interested in doing it on your own, you could find your lawmakers on typically your state legislature website. And if you don't know who your lawmakers are, there's usually a tool to help you find out who they are. All you need is your address. And yeah, I mean, it can't hurt to pick up the phone and make a call to their office, or send a quick email. Usually their contact information is public information posted on their website.
Great. So start spamming them with emails. Is what you're saying,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Yeah,
Well,
if
and
that's
Carly,
what it
one thing I
takes.
will say that we have heard from Arizona legislators anecdotally is when cannabis bills are either in committees or when they're on the floor, they don't hear a lot from the cannabis community. So that's something we're really trying to ameliorate and try to be more of a voice, a collective voice at our state.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and he said, Ryan, I kind of laugh a little bit when he said, so spam your legislators. And while I don't want to use the word spam, I think being persistent is super important. One, because these people are so busy, like they might not either. I think it's super easy for, those one-off emails to fall through the cracks. So I think being persistent is important and necessary.
Absolutely. So with the MORE Act coming up here right this week, right? That's something that people should take action to try and push through and really do something about now, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're going to contact your lawmakers about the MORE Act, now is the time to do it. Right before the vote, we only have as soon as a day or two before it actually comes up for a vote. So yeah, for sure, now is the time to do it. Again, normal.org/act. There should be a link right at the top of the page where you can contact your lawmakers in support of the MORE Act.
That's great. Here's the website right there for anyone who's got
There we go.
attention span like I do and can't remember, one thing from about 10 seconds prior. So, but there it is, normal.org/act. And thank you so much, Carly, for the update there. Mike Robinette.
Ryan Wilson, how are you this evening?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully as well. Thank you for asking. And of course, I do want to thank Carly for all of her information. It's great having someone from National NORML on board. Carly, we'll have to talk about having you down in Southern Arizona NORML's meeting as well. Now you're going to be a regular.
I would love to. Great.
Excellent.
Mike, you can dig a little bit into Prop 207. What's going on that front?
Well, you did mention earlier, Ryan, that Prop 207 did pass on November 3rd, making Arizona the 13th state to legalize for adult use marijuana. And as you know, we are all popping with excitement over that. For me, though, it's still sinking in. I'm about 50% registered with it now. Ryan, we had talked a lot earlier. None of us, it was just kind of, we did it, but it doesn't feel real. But it is real. And let me explain to you why it's real, because Prop 207 already started doing its magnificent work prior to November 30th, yesterday, when the results of the election were certified. In mid-November, the Associated Press actually reached out to all 15 county attorneys. And they found that even in mid-November, 13 of the 15 county attorneys in Arizona, meaning 13 of the 15 counties, have already stated they were dropping all charges or waiting for prosecution until 207 goes into effect. What was really fascinating is one of the counties, which Ryan, you and Todd are in, Maricopa County, has traditionally been somewhat of a prohibitionist county with the old days of Bill Montgomery as the county attorney. And on November 9th, Maricopa County announced, it was the first county announced they were dropping all marijuana prosecutions. And that means they're dropping about 6,000 cases. So 207, even before the election was certified, was already doing its work to better our state relative to marijuana reform. Soon after, Pima County, our second biggest county, followed suit in dropping all charges. So that already happened. And just to mention again how powerful this really is, we were the only remaining state where on our state, in our books, our laws, possession from a little speck to 2 pounds was a class 6 felony. Now, granted, most counties ran it through misdemeanor court, but that was a law on Arizona's books. And so Prop 207 we've kind of gone from felonization right past decriminalization to legalization in one fell swoop. So that's the power. And I just have to thank all the Arizona voters. In fact, 60% of those voters who voted, who passed with a resounding victory, passed Prop 207. Couple of things, just what is happening now. We all know that yesterday, the election results were certified. And what that means is yesterday, Prop 207 became law. So as of yesterday, including today and moving forward, you can freely possess 1 ounce of marijuana or less on your person, in your car, wherever. And of that 1 ounce, up to 5 grams can be any form of concentrate. Also, up to 2.5 ounces or of that 12.5 grams of concentrate, that now is completely decriminalized to just being a petty offense. I saw a quote somewhere of like $300 fine or less. So we've not only legalized, we then, of course, extrapolated out to another portion of marijuana possession to decrim as well. Grow rights. We were talking initially before the meeting how excited we are about grow rights. Arizonans now have grow rights, meaning if you're a single person, 21 years or older, you can grow 6 plants and keep the harvest at your house. If you have a family where you might have 2 or more 21-year-olds, you can grow up to 12 plants legally in Arizona. So we're really excited about that as well. A couple of other things quickly relative to timeline, because we were talking about this pre-meeting as well. We've seen with other states that it seems to take a bit of time before legalization happens and when there's actually product to be sold in a dispensary. We're really fortunate that the model in Prop 207, DHS, who administers the medical marijuana program, the Department of Health Services, and they will administer the adult use program as well. They will start accepting early applications for dispensaries, for adult use dispensaries, and that will run from January 19th, 2021. Next month, they're going to start taking applications, and that process will go until March 9th of 2021. So we expect to see product in dispensaries being sold to adults who are 21 years and older in April. I did hear a rumor that possibly some dispensaries might open on 4/20, but that was just a rumor. So we don't know yet. But I'm anticipating April is when you will be able to enter a dispensary, which will be a larger, in essence, a medical marijuana dispensary than an adult use dispensary. You'll be able to go in and purchase if you're 21 years or older. So that's incredible. Also, we all know that what Arizona did, which was great, was adding an additional 26 social equity licenses. Now, relative to that process, that's sort of a blank slate right now. Prop 207 did not fully delineate how that will play out. However, with the social equity licenses, June 1st, the rules need to be set and in place. In other words, DHS will create rules relative to the social equity license. And that's where we hope to have some influence to make sure that our social equity program is legitimate in Arizona. Because I know Carly, we were talking earlier, alluded to, that's not gone as great as we would have hoped in a few other states. So we're going to be on top of that. And they'll begin, DHS will begin accepting those applications on June 1st for the social equity license. Lastly, what is coming in July, specifically July 12th, 2021, Carly mentioned it earlier, expungement. Expungement is coming in July. And how that will work, and this is just incredible. According to the Department of Public Safety, there's about 192,000 people in Arizona as of June of 2020 who could benefit from expungement. And what that means is if at some time in your past, if you have a conviction of what is now being made legal or decrimmed, for example, let's say you were caught with up to 2.5 ounces of possession or some combination of up to 12.5 grams of concentrate, or you were caught growing 6 plants or less for personal consumption, those charges can now be expunged in the state of Arizona. And what's great is there's funding to go to nonprofits in each county to assist people. So people aren't just left to kind of be on their own blindly saying, I'm ready to expunge, where do I go? There'll be nonprofits there to help us, to help those people get expunged, get their records expunged. So we're really excited about that as well. And like I said, there is some money in Prop 207 to facilitate that process. Other than that, just a couple other things real quick. One thing that's really important from a criminal justice perspective is it is clearly stated now that the smell of raw or burnt marijuana cannot be used as a reasonable suspicion to search you. What I would suspect too is drug dogs who have been trained to work with marijuana will probably be retired. That is happening nationally, which is kind of an interesting side effect of legalization, because when something's legal, obviously the smell of it should not promote a search. And also one thing in Arizona that, and I'll just briefly mention, we are right now a zero tolerance drug DUI state. And what that means is if you have any presence of inactive or active metabolites in your system, you're immediately impaired according to the law. So what happens is Prop 207 wrote basically the language from the medical marijuana program. And so now the presence of metabolites is in no way an indication of your impairment, because obviously what you're doing is you're legalizing a substance, but then you're saying you can't have it in your system or you're going to be impaired driving. So that's not really, that dichotomy isn't really even legalization. Hey, you're 21, go at it, but you really can't drive. So good luck, enjoy. So that's why it's really important that there was clarity with that. So it basically states you cannot be convicted of a DUI with just metabolites. You must be proven impaired, and the language actually says to the slightest degree, and that just means a DRE officer would have to administer sobriety tests to you. And then, of course, if they have evidence that you were weaving or doing other things. But it's a major victory that with legalization, we've eliminated that zero tolerance drug DUI aspect with respect to marijuana.
Absolutely, Mike. The great update there. I do have a question for you. I know it's a topic that's been brought up several times, but the employment.
I can answer.
Yeah. So employment, and living in a legal rec state. So now that it's legal, can I go out and, not worry about losing my job because of, the fact that, it's legal, right? So if I get tested and, come back, showing positive for marijuana, but it's against the company policy, what happens? Is there any protections there?
Well, if you have a medical card, yes. But for full adult use, there is not that employee protection. And the reason why that's in there is in the initial stages of developing Prop 207, which was then Smart and Safe Arizona Act, there was attempts to work with about 190 different stakeholders. And that was in essence working with the Chambers of Commerce is to say, look, we're not going to override and say that people should be now allowed in a legalized world to just come into your workplace and consume cannabis. So no, there will still be, your employer has every right to, just like they have every right to say you can't drink on the job. You can't possibly, for example, smoke cigarettes in the office. The employers still have that right to dictate that to you as an employee. Now that's one thing that comes along with that what I am very excited to try to start working on relative to NORML is eliminating now or attempting to eliminate pre-employment screening for marijuana use, because it makes no sense whatsoever living in a legalized state that the consumption of a legal product would preclude your ability to get a job. And so that's really important. But Ryan, you are correct. There is not, this did not free you as an employee to be able to consume at work. It just did not do that. It's the same with landlords. A landlord can tell you I own the property and therefore I'm going to say that you can't. Now that's if you don't have a card, that therefore you can't consume or you can't grow in your apartment. So there's clarity on those two issues, but you are correct. You can still have issues with your employer relative to marijuana, even though we're legalized.
So you mean to tell me that I can't smoke weed on the job. I can't drive while I'm impaired. I can't grow, 1,000 plants and, keep everything and sell it to whoever I want. So where's the legalization come in here?
Well, I think the key phrase then is we're talking about the responsible use and consumption of cannabis. And I think that's what this model is. It's a model of legalization representing the responsible use and consumption of cannabis.
Absolutely. And Carly, what's NORML's, policy here on responsible use of cannabis? How do you guys do it?
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think Mike's right. I mean, you guys are both right. I think that, you know, consumers deserve protections like employment protections. But, you know, the fact that that's not included just means that you guys have more work to do next year. Um, but yeah, I mean, we do have our principles of responsible adult use. You know, obviously you shouldn't drive while you're impaired, but that doesn't mean you should be penalized or get a DUI for having marijuana in your system. So that for sure is an issue we see a lot now. Adults only. And we don't think children should be using marijuana unless they have approval from their doctor. You know, there's a time and place for marijuana usage. You shouldn't be, you know, smoking in public at a park with children around. But when you're in the privacy of your own home, you know, you should be able to consume whatever you want to consume without being penalized by the government. And I think, you know, there shouldn't be people going to work impaired or you know, under the influence. But again, people shouldn't be fired for having it in their system or testing positive on a drug test. So there for sure is you know, responsible uses and irresponsible uses, but you know, I think protections for adults and for consumers is also super important. So you guys definitely have more work to do, and I'm looking forward to supporting you guys in the years to come as we continue to, you know, reform these laws and get the things that we really want.
Well, thank you.
Go ahead, man. Well, I was just going to say, because what Carly is talking about, we talked about this earlier on a normal call with Carly. This really is a long incremental process.
Right.
We don't get everything in one initiative, but that's okay because we've got some really big things in this initiative in 207.
Right. Yeah.
But now, but what people, because I think there's a conception, and it's a misconception out there that, well, now that you legalize this, NORML just put, you know, take the shingle off the wall and fold up shop. Well, no,
right.
we really don't, because there's a lot more work that serves as concomitant, concomitant work to the actual process of legalization. So Carly's right. We do have our hands full, but at the same time, we've really made a major leap.
Yeah, you guys made huge progress and should be so proud of the work you've done. I know
Very
I am.
excited.
So.
Thank you, Carly. If anyone wants to get involved with Arizona NORML, all you have to do is go to arizonanormal.org/volunteer and fill out the little form, sign up. You know, we could use the help. There's a lot of stuff, like we were just discussing, that we could use help with. And now's the time, guys. There's action. There's movement here. You know, it's an opportunity to be a part of something special, something that's been in the works for over 50 years. So come on over, join the fun.
Love to have you. Love to have you working with us.
And Mike, you had a couple things that you wanted to touch on.
I did want to mention a couple things. Southern Arizona NORML, our chapter meeting is 6:30 on Thursday. Carly, I'll be calling you to see if you can make it. And
sounds good.
Great. And also, our highway cleaning is always the second Saturday of each month. We had yet another successful highway cleaning. So if you're interested in cleaning a highway, and as I always say, once we clean that highway, you can picnic on it. It's that clean. So we welcome you to come and help us. Or if you're down in Tucson, we post on our website, soaznormal.org. It's an event on our Facebook page. Love to have people come. Lastly, really importantly, I'm very excited about this. We're hosting two Congress people. We're hosting Congressman Grijalva and Congresswoman Kirkpatrick, both whose districts are down in Southern Arizona. And we're hosting them. Congresswoman Kirkpatrick will be talking with us live this Thursday at 11 a.m. our time, Arizona time. And Congressman Grijalva will be talking with us this Friday at 9 a.m. Both are co-sponsors of the MORE Act. So we want to get their perspective and find out why the MORE Act resonates with them to the point where they're co-sponsors, and have them really give their take on it and promote it. So we're really excited to have both Congresswoman Kirkpatrick and Congressman Grijalva to be joining us both Thursday and Friday of this week. It'll be on the StreamYard as always. So we look forward to having them, and we hope you can join us for both those events.
Absolutely, and those will be live streamed to our Facebook pages as well. So don't have to worry about doing anything except for going to the Facebook page to be able to join us on that. And thank you very much, Mike. Thank you very much, Carly, for joining us here tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we'll wrap up, and thank you, Arizona, for legalizing here at 60%.
Thank you.
Hell yeah, guys. That is great job. Great work.
Excellent.
And we'll see you all on the flip side. Good night, Arizona.